Hi there, and welcome back. Today, I want to talk to you about the Make Noise O-Coast, a semi-modular analog monosynth that's been out for quite a while now, and why I think that it deserves a special place in your setup and in your heart. If you're looking for an in-depth technical exploration of the O-Coast, sorry, you're not going to find that here. What I want to offer you today is my perspective as a real-world knob twiddler. I'm here to give you the practical feel of this thing in actual use, beyond the spec sheet, from a long-term user's perspective. And share what has stood out to me in my experience with the O-Coast after playing with the synth for about 5 months now. Hi, welcome to the Midlight Synthesist. Let's get started. Let's start with the most important thing, shall we? Lord Almighty, the sound of this thing. Having listened to my fair share of YouTube demos before buying it, I can honestly tell you that they don't hold a candle to the sound of the real thing bursting through your monitors. A bunch of words do come to mind. Powerful, textured, crisp, warm, deep, snappy. All of these can be used to describe the sound this thing makes, but they do fall short of the beauty and versatility that is the O-Coast. Sadly, most of the videos I've seen focus a lot on the more nasty, punchy, and aggressive, crazy sounds that the O-Coast can cook up, but the truth is, it can be very sweet and cozy as well. Add some reverb to the mix, and it's just as comfortable being a huge drone, a cutting lead, or an ample bass. It's also remarkably gifted at cutting through a busy mix, but not in an obnoxious, uncontrollable way, being happy to lend itself to a secondary role if needed. Another thing that sets the O-Coast apart is the way that its design and vocabulary are so far removed from popular synth speak. You won't find any filters or LFOs or ADSRs here, at least not at face value. Now, don't worry though, they're all there, just in another language. Inexplicably though, being lost in translation isn't so much of a problem here, as it's pretty easy to navigate and its sweet spot is so big, you can just roam around freely and carelessly, tweaking away to your heart's content. And tweak away you should, as there is always a hidden treasure just one half a turn of a knob away. At least to me, being presented with a somewhat foreign way of sound design has made me get out of the common routes and usual pathways that I've gotten a bit used to with my other synths. It's helped me to explore sound in a very different way and allowed me to become more adventurous in my sound explorations. And that brings me nicely into reason number 3. Versatility. Some synths make a home for themselves in just one role and are pretty happy to live there pretty much forever. The O-Coast, on the other hand, is a very anxious little guy and he wants to be everywhere all at once. As soon as you start tweaking and patching, there's really no limits to where this thing is willing to take you. It can be nasty and harsh, but it can also sing you the sweetest lullaby. It's actually pretty amazing that it all fits into such a tidy little package. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, I would really appreciate it if you could take a second and click that like button and maybe leave me a comment telling me what you think of the O-Coast yourself, and maybe suggest an alternative for me to try out in the future. I always enjoy hearing your thoughts on these things, so I look forward to talking to you down below. Thanks. Except for proper Eurorack modules, I've pretty much become accustomed to expect that big sounds come from big synths. Just look at the size of the Matriarch or the Polybrute. While, of course, it would be ridiculous to compare the O-Coast to any of those synths, I can never get over the fact that this tiny little thing makes such a big sound. It fits snugly into any hardware setup, and if you're strictly a software person, it's pretty much the perfect way of adding some of that analog secret sauce while not taking up too much desk space. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, this thing is a grin factory. Some synths out there sound great, but are a pain to program and manipulate. Others may be a joy to program, but can be lacking in raw sound. Every so often, there comes along something like the O-Coast, where everything just works. The interface and the sound both work in unison to produce a user experience like no other. Each time that I sit down with it, I go home with a batch of new samples, melodies, and most importantly, memories, and the feeling that my time was extremely well spent. Not only regarding the end results, but the experience itself. Now just to be clear here, the Ökost is not perfect by any means. I've had it freeze a couple of times over some problematic MIDI signals. The volume levels can be a bit of a hassle to get right and can vary wildly when manipulating the dynamics and the overtones. It's also important to note that the pitch knob, while having an enormous range, does not have a notch at the center to tell you when you're on C, so you need to remember to tune it each time you start a new session, lest you end up with a melody in a very weird scale. Though these issues certainly exist, I do have to say that I'm nitpicking here, because they don't even begin to alter what is ultimately a great ride. If you're playing around with the idea of diving into Eurorec, or if you're craving some of that analog cable patching adrenaline of the modular world, I cannot recommend the Ökost enough as a gateway drug into the wonderful world of modular sound design. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, or at least entertaining. Have a great week. I'll see you in the next one.